Good morning and welcome to the Thursday Thread. This is for CPAs who are looking to build their business to have a higher income and better quality of life. My name is Andy Lockwood, and with me, star of the show, CPA business guru for 4+ decades, Mr. Neil Gilmet. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Andy. How are you today?
Doing great. Very excited as per usual to do these episodes. It's sort of a labor of love that doesn't feel like labor to me, because I feel like every one of these episodes that we do each week is like a seminar. It's so great to hear you kind of spew out, the knowledge, wisdom that you've accumulated for 40+ years in the trenches with CPAs. So I love doing this.
I love it too. I enjoy it. You know what it does? It stimulates my head to bring things out. It brings things up that I ran into all years and years ago.
Yeah. So the reason we call this a Thursday Thread, just as a reminder for people who are watching with us live or on replay, is the thread of continuity. It's an allusion to the thread of continuity, which is one of your core concepts, which I'll take a stab at defining it, then you can correct me, which is that there has to be this continuous way or a bunch of principles that are exhibited from the time before a client hires you. So when they're a prospective client, so when they hire you, to when you're working with them, and all throughout, it's got to be one constant, consistent message and set of behaviors. Is that basically accurate?
It's philosophy, message, and behaviors from the first contact right through the dealing with them as a client in the 4 components.
Good. And briefly, the 4 components, let's just go through that.
Yeah, I was going to say, the first component is creating the proper opportunities in the marketplace. Whatever philosophy, process, word tracks that you use in creating the opportunity have to be present in the process that you use to convert them into high profit relationships.
So that would be what most of us refer to as marketing, I guess, creating opportunities. And then the next part 2 is
closing, selling, converting them.
Yeah.
There's got to be that thread of continuity. It's got to tie together. One leads to the other. And once you convert them into a high profit relationship, the third function is delivering on your value promise. There has to be a thread of continuity to where you started with them, how you converted them, and into how you're delivering the value promise.
Good.
And then when you move to the 4th component of running the factory with optimum efficiency, it still has to have the thread of continuity to the values, the value proposition, to the processes, and to the philosophy behind it.
Great. Okay. Terrific. So we'll do. I'm sure we'll do a show on that. The four steps. So today is about really that first step in the thread. I guess it's threading the needle, perhaps. And we're going to be talking about the opening statement. So let's talk about what an opening statement is, what it does, why it's important, and why it sets the stage for the entire relationship.
The opening statement is a proprietary tool that I developed that's in the toolbox of business development. And before we get into the opening statement, what has to happen when you go to meet with a prospect, they don't know who you are, you don't know who they are. They're on the safety level of Maslow's hierarchy. You're on the safety level of Maslow's hierarchy. So an opening statement is, you always use an opening statement to start any meeting, and there's a reason for that. And it's controlled conversation versus casual conversation. And it's using precision of language, process driven, and it makes rainmaking or business development pretty easy. And there's a reason for that. How many people out there like to be sold?
About 0.
No one, 0. But yet we've got to find a way to get them as business clients or as relationships. So they don't like to be sold, but everybody likes to buy.
Right.
So how do you go about optimizing the ability to create a relationship of trust in a short period of time with a relative stranger? And one of the most frequently asked questions by CPAs is, How do I go about getting more than my fair share of the business? And that's something that I like very much, because who wants to settle for their fair share? Use an opening statement properly, and that an opening statement is really the first step in my selling without selling process, which is a 7 or 8 step process. The opening statement is the first one. So I'm going to start and bring it back to when you walk in front of a prospect. How do most people feel when they go to sit down in front of a prospect? Assertively self-confident?
Yeah, I would say most people are a little insecure. They feel a little pressure, and I would think the prospect also might have their guard up.
Usually, well, the prospect's got his guard up because he or she feels that they don't want to be sold and you're an unknown quantity. And you're walking into this prospect going, what am I going to have to do to sell him? There's an anxiety level. I'm spending time. I'd like to get this client. Well, the opening statement removes that selling pressure from you. And it also removes the selling pressure from the client so that their guard goes down tremendously. And that's done with an opening statement. So if you don't like to sell and you still like to develop business, the selling without selling process is the way to go. And the opening statement is the first step in the process. It's the first tool in the toolbox, so to speak, of moving forward.
Do you want to give an example of your opening statement, and we'll role play a little bit? I'll be the respective client.
Before we get into that, I wanted to do a couple of things. First of all, when you go in to meet with a prospect, who wants to be in control in that meeting? And most CPAs, you're meeting with the client in his or her office.
Yeah, the prospect always wants to be in control. Yeah.
So they want to be in control, and you want to be in control. And the question becomes, who has to be in control to make it happen? There's 2 ways to go about it. Number one is to walk in there and do what I call show up and throw up, or use casual conversation and hope that some way you're going to make a connection and walk away with a piece of business. There's another way to go about it that almost guarantees it if you use it properly, and that's using the discovery process, which I call the discovery process, relationship building. And it starts with an opening statement. And what that does is it removes, and there are 8 components to an opening statement. The 8, I want to read them all because there are 8 in a row. Number one, your opening statement needs to define the purpose of the meeting. Number 2, it has to create an awareness of differentiation. And we've talked about differentiation is the key to success in any business, whether you're a CPA or anybody. If you're not perceived as different from your competition, you're perceived as the same. If you're perceived as the same, you're a commodity. How much is it? So differentiation is part of it. You want to state a major benefit that the prospect might accrue by working with you. You want to consciously remove selling pressure. And you want to take control of the dynamics and flow of the meeting without the prospect knowing it, that you want them to give you control without them even knowing they gave you control. You want to create a curiosity, and that curiosity is, will your difference benefit me, is the curiosity you want to create. Number 7 is to engage the prospect in a discovery to get permission to ask questions and take notes. And number 8 is to help the prospect feel empowered. Those 8 components included in the opening statement.
I would, if I may, I would even add a 9th, which is to sort, to see whether that client is prospective client is going to be a good or a bad fit for you. Which is, I know when we get to the opening statement, that's going to be part of it.
Well, the opening statement is to give you the ability to control the flow of the meeting. You can't control the outcome. You can create an outcome, but you can't control it directly. So the opening statement has all those components, and I'll give you an example of the opening statement that I teach my CPAs to make.
Great.
And we'll role play it if you don't mind.
Sure.
Andy, really, I thank you very much for meeting with me today. And as I mentioned to you when we first connected, we have a very different approach to the business of accounting than do traditional accounting firms. And because it's different, it's really not right for everybody. The business owners that we're right for see a really substantial impact in a couple of things. Number one, the amount of money they get to put in their pocket. Number two, the amount of free time they have or they can build to do other things other than business. Number four, the saleable market value of the business. And number five, the reduction of the day-to-day burden of management. And that's what the relationship does for clients. That's what they want from a relationship. So the opening statement gives us the ability to move in that direction and go into a discovery. All those 8 components have to be there. So I'm going to go on with the opening statement saying to you, as I said, I appreciate meeting with you. We have a very different approach that's not right for everybody. And you must follow that up with those it's right for, see a significant benefit in these things. And whether we can do that with you or not, Andy, I don't know at this point.
Right.
But with your permission, if I could ask you some questions to better understand you as a person and better understand your business, I could tell you if our different approach could benefit you. I could tell you how. You can decide if it makes sense.
All right, so I'm going to stop there because there's so much in there that I just want.
Would you mind if I ask questions?
Yeah, so I want to just break the fourth wall here and go a little bit deep on some of these things. I think that's such a great statement because number one, you are asserting control. You're saying, like, look, I'm here to help you. You're basically saying I'm the prize. You know, I'm trying to see if you get to work with me. I mean, you're
right. I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to see if you qualify.
Yes. So I think that is just the psychology of that is brilliant. And because people want, what they can't have. It's very intriguing also because you're saying you're different. That curiosity is another big psychological trigger. Another one is you're hitting me right up front with why I should pay attention, quality of life and all the benefits that you listed. You're saying all that stuff right up front. Because a lot of times people have conversations, or at least I do, and I'll be thinking like, what does this person really want? I can't, they're beating around the bush, and I can't, get to the point already. I'm busy,
Everybody's dancing around the mulberry bush. This is very direct. We're not going to sit here and talk about the golf trophy on your shelf.
Right.
We're not going to talk about the fishing picture or your kids. We're here to do business.
Yeah.
I'm here to see if you are worthy of what I'm capable of bringing to the party with my very different approach.
Yeah. So that shifts the dynamic, like we were talking about in the beginning, from me being kind of like, on guard a little bit to like, oh, okay, now I'm going to lean in a little bit and think, okay, this is interesting. And then when you say we're not right for everyone, I want, with your permission, that lowers the tension level even more. And it sets the stage really, really, really well for the questions, which I guess we'll get to right now. I just want to say, for people who are watching this either live, and Betty Tuffarella, who I also know, one of your great clients.
Hello, Betty.
She's here, and if anyone has any questions or comments about this, I think it's a great opportunity for you to pick Neil's brain for free, and lob in the questions here, either live or on replay. All right. So speaking of questions, you just asked me for my permission for you to ask me questions, and of course I'm going to say yes. So take it from there.
Give me permission to ask questions. You're putting the steering wheel in my hand. You are giving me control of the flow of the meeting. As long as I'm asking questions, I'm in control. Now, you need to have a process of questions that are predetermined. Otherwise, you're just going to wander all over the desert like Moses did and spend 40 years to get nowhere. And
piss off your prospective client.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And you're wasting your own time.
Yeah.
It goes nowhere. It just goes in circles and it doesn't create a result. The point of all of this is to create a very specific result. And there are 2 functions you mentioned before. Number one, I'm here to qualify you out. The first thing I want to find out is if you're worthy of my time. And I mean that sincerely. Every CPA that I know, you're all good at what we do. I just don't know if that client is right for me. And we've all had clients that are not right for us. I want to qualify right up front if you're right for me or not.
Can I ask you though? Do you do any ahead of time before the actual sit down meeting? Because I'm a college advisor, and I do so much ahead of time before I take the time to speak to someone as a prospective client. Tell me a little bit about that.
I don't want to do anything before I speak with a prospect.
Hmm.
I don't want to know anything about them. I don't want to look at their website. I don't want to research them. I don't want to presuppose that I know anything. That's that empty cup concept we've spoken about.
No, that's good.
Walk into that prospect.
Yeah, what I meant was sorry. What I meant was to educate them up front so they know what they're getting into. Like, so I know. So in other words, I know you won't just meet with anyone, right?
No.
You're not going to give anyone, everyone.
They're qualified before I meet with them.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So how's that done, or how do you recommend that's done?
Well, it's the same thing. It's that I want to find out about when I make an appointment to meet with someone. It's usually on a referral basis.
Okay.
And I've had a referral. In fact, I've had 3 referrals this week already that I have to call. And it's usually on a referral basis. So I connect with the prospect. Mm-hmm. I say to them, look, I have a very different approach. It's not right for everyone. What I'd like to do is schedule about an hour of uninterrupted time with you to explore if we might be right for each other, if we might be able to benefit you. And frankly, in that meeting, which I do on Zoom now, in that meeting, if you feel after 5 or 10 minutes that there's no point in moving on, feel perfectly free to end the phone call, and I just want the same privilege. So I want to set the meeting up properly, that I want an hour of uninterrupted time. But if it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, let's not waste each other's time.
Which also gives them that permission and lowers their guard too.
Yeah, I'm not here to. What I'm saying is, I'm not here to sell you.
Yeah,
I'm here to meet with you. I'm here to learn about you. I'm here to understand you. Once I do that, I can tell you if what we do can help you. I can tell you how, and you can decide if it makes sense. If it does, let's continue on. If it doesn't, that's okay too. It's just a whole different, and you know me, attitude is everything.
Yep.
So this validates the attitude that we need to have, that we are the prize. Excuse me.
Which goes through the whole thread of continuity all the way through running the factory.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
You get to work with me.
Right. And then I'll go into a discovery process that starts with a hierarchy of questions. And as Tony Robbins taught me 40 years ago, if you want better answers, learn to ask better questions. So the point of discovery is to determine if these people are right for you or not, if you're right for them, if you can bring them real value, and if you even want to bring them real value, and then be able to be specific enough to tell them and show them how, and be done with all of that in an hour, and more than likely walk out with an engagement and a credit card, or an engagement and a check in an hour to an hour and a half time. That's the purpose of the discovery process.
Do you find that an hour is too long, that turns people off, and if so, is that even a bad thing, or is that a disqualifying thing?
I tell people I need an hour of uninterrupted time, and if you feel that you're not getting any value anywhere along the way, feel free to cut the meeting short right then and there. But to bring you value, I need an hour of uninterrupted time. And I also will ask the question in that preliminary phone call, Andy, who else besides you, and this is the very precision of language, who else besides yourself is involved in the decision-making process?
Right.
And the reason I ask that question is I'm not going to sit down and have a conversation with you if you have a partner or a spouse or somebody else that's involved in the decision-making process. I don't want to waste my time speaking to one person, because at the end of that meeting, they're inevitably going to say, well, that sounds great, but I have to speak to my partner.
Yeah. And I think the other reason that that's so important, besides not wasting your own time, is what you're communicating with that, which is that I'm a professional. My time is valuable. I don't have time to screw around. I'm the prize. You get to work with me. I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm not selling you. So I'm not going to do this over and over again. It's either pass or play.
Right. Exactly. Play or pass in one way or the other.
Yeah.
And the opening statement is the tool that you use to take control of the whole process. That's the one that opens the door and gets you permission, removes that selling pressure, makes them feel empowered, and gives you control of the flow of the meeting when they say, yes, you may ask me some questions. Then you have to know what questions to ask. But the opening statement is the tool that we use to bring it there.
Good.
The opening statement, by the way, what's important to understand is the opening statement is developed from your unique value proposition.
Okay.
So the unique value proposition that differentiates you from your competition and talks about the unique value that a relationship with you delivers. Like the one we did with you. I love the one we came up with you, is that when you're working with somebody, you're not talking about the next 4 years of their child's life.
In college.
You're looking at the next 40 years of their child's life, which immediately differentiates you from everybody else.
Yep.
And it also makes parents sit up and think, wow, I never thought about that, because most people in your business are just talking about those 4 years of college. What do I have to do to get the kid into college?
Yeah.
Is it the right college? Are they going to be taking anything that's worthwhile? You know, I mean, I took an underwater basket weaving course at the University of Miami 1,000 years ago, and I haven't been able to make a living at it. It's been difficult. You want to make sure. So the point I'm making is that the unique value proposition is the basis that we create the opening statement from. And the unique value proposition is unique to you and to your business. So again, it's based upon a unique value proposition. And more importantly, it's not just used when you're sitting in front of a prospect. It's used almost every place. If you're at a networking function, one of the accountants that I work with, and I love it, he goes to networking functions and he introduces himself not as a CPA. When they say, who are you and what do you do? Again, he uses a partial opening statement. And he said, well, my name is Neil Gilmet, and I'm a profitability consultant and dream facilitator and a CPA with a very different approach to client relationships. Dream facilitator. What the hell is a dream facilitator? Now, it took me a while for him to build up the courage to go out and make that statement.
Yeah.
But when you come right down to it, when somebody the whole idea of that statement is to engage the prospect. So the prospect said, well, what is a dream facilitator? Well, this is not the place and time, Andy, but basically what we do is we help clients achieve their quality of life dreams and the income to support them by applying the accounting knowledge and business acumen that we've accumulated, rather than just reporting your history so you can pay your taxes. So we help our clients achieve their life dreams, and we help them get the money to do it. And when the relationship is right, we generate way more than we cost. So you end up getting your accounting free, your business grows, your quality of life grows, your burden of management grows, and I make money and you make even more money. And we can't do that for everybody. So my one question is, Andy, if it were even possible that this very different approach could do that for you, would you invest an hour of your time to explore it?
Of course I would. Yeah.
A statement used to create a meeting with a prospect, but a semi-qualified prospect.
Well, you're qualifying them with that, and we were talking about this off the air before we started today about an unrelated thing, but I just joined this networking group that you know about. And I hate them in general. Pre-pandemic days was everyone, walking around shoving their business cards in people's throats, and I just have no interest in that. However, that this type of opening statement is like the antithesis of that. It's a pattern interrupt, because I think everyone who goes to these events, they're just kind of like, okay, I'm here to give out some business cards and try to get out as soon as possible after I have some coffee and a bagel or something. It arouses that curiosity, which we were talking about before, and it makes me, either physically or figuratively lean in and more interested.
That anybody that's listening out there today, and one of the things that you always want to say is what we do is we help select clients make more money with less work and aggravation, have more free time, and add to the value of their business, and we generate more than we cost.
Yeah.
But select clients, and again, that's another one saying, well, can I be one of those select clients?
Right.
I don't know if you qualify.
Yep.
And it ties right back into the attitude.
Yeah, my analogy, which everyone can use, no matter what business they're in, as a college advisor, it's almost like to talk to me, they have to fill out an application. So they're applying to me. I'm like the college or the private high school or something like that. Yep. When you say we help select clients, if you're an accountant, it's the same thing. they have to qualify themselves. They have to, in effect, apply for you, to get your attention. And then you're hitting them with the benefits again, which is, I don't do tax returns. I don't do this and that. I help select clients, benefit. That's interesting, and that's different, and that shows confidence.
So not only that, it differentiates you from other people in real time.
Yeah.
Other people don't speak that way when they have conversations. They go right into what I like to call show up and throw up. Let me tell you all about me, and let me tell you all about my business, and let me tell you how wonderful I am.
Yeah.
And guess what? People don't care.
What?
Just don't care.
Yeah.
People, well, we're all alike. We're all listening to radio station WIIFM and all. So, and anybody that doesn't know, that's what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So if I meet you, I'm not sitting here going, I can't wait to find all about Andy. I'm at a workshop or a what do you call it, networking function to try to develop more business. And how can I develop more business? By a bunch of people vomiting forth and spewing forth information about who they are. But that's what everybody does. On the other hand, if you, and this is one of the keys, people will hire you because they feel that you understand them. Very important. So if you don't take the time to understand who your prospect is as a person, they're not going to hire you. It's
right.
important that you know, and the only way you're going to understand them is not by making assumptions, but by getting permission to ask questions and then doing what we call a discovery on the person, on the business, on their dreams, and on where they're stuck. And that's what it leads to discovery to.
Yeah, and then I think that hour flies by if you're the prospect, because one of the geniuses aspects of these questions that you've created is that it gets them talking about themselves, and they have to feel. I know you hear this a lot, and your clients, your CPAs that you work with, you've told me that they hear this all the time. Their prospects end up saying things like, "Wow, no one's ever asked me these questions before."
No one has ever asked me these kind of questions.
Yeah, I don't think anyone understands me this way, and that's part of the trust and value that you're embodying, and part of that thread of continuity.
It also validates your difference in real time.
Yeah,
you're not saying you're different; you're being different.
Right,
and that's extremely noticeable.
And let's not lose sight of the fact that you're making yourself more valuable. You're doing what's best for the client because you're doing your best to understand them, and of course it's good for you too, because you'll be able to figure out if they are worth your time, if you really can help them or not. Yeah. And it also lets them know that you're on their side and you're different, and that makes them less fee resistant in general when you focus on the value. This
also forces you to look into your business, not your practice, your business, and determine the value that you bring to your best clients. What is the value that you bring to those clients? Why would they want to pay you for value? And I have a real hard time getting excited about your bookkeeping. I mean, I just don't get excited about bookkeeping. I don't wake up in the morning and say, my God, I can't wait to go out shopping for new bookkeeping services. So if you can't communicate how what you do is different from your competitors and how that difference is relevant to my income and my quality of life, which is the only two things I really care about, my income and quality of life. If you can't be relevant to that, you're just another one of those bean counters out there. Just another also ran bean counter bookkeeper. But if you can bring me, and I'm using very specific language, if you can bring me into an awareness of your difference, and that my perception of your difference says to me, wow, if this guy really can do what he says he can do, and it can make my life better and give me more money and more than pay for itself, I'd be a fool not to pursue it further. And that's what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, there's no risk. You're also lowering their defenses and saying there's no risk to talk to me.
Right. And there's no risk to talk to you because you're coming from a place of you need to qualify to work with me. Mm-hmm. And as you said a couple of weeks back on one we did, nobody really cares if you've been in practice for 346 years. Nobody really cares if you had 29 partners that all walk on water and are all brilliant. Nobody really cares. It's not about you. So one of the things that I always remind people of, the first thing you need to do when you walk into a prospect is to empty your cup, get rid of all the noise in your head, get rid of the desire to get them as a client. And the second thing is take your accounting hat off. If you keep that accounting hat on, you're going to get lost. So I tell my CPAs, when you go to meet with a prospect and they say to you, let me show you my tax returns, push them away. Because the second you look at those tax returns, you're going to put your hat on, your accounting hat on, and you're going to dive into debits and credits and numbers, and you're going to lose it. You're not going to get it. Yeah.
So great comments from Betty in terms of unique value proposition. You know, I actually want to point something out as we close up here. So you know, I think Betty, actually, I think you do a pretty good job at this too, because I've seen you post some stuff on LinkedIn,
right?
To credentialize yourself before you actually speak to someone and perhaps go through the opening statement too. So in another episode in the near future, I think we should talk about how to start this conversation ahead of time, which is what I call marketing, and you call creating opportunities, to educate them on how you're different and your unique value proposition before you even invest the time to talk to them. Because I think that's something I personally do a ton in my practice, and Betty does it too as an intellectual property attorney. And a lot of CPAs should be doing this, but they're not doing it to sort of establish themselves as, you know, what they call thought leaders. And like we're doing right here, Neil. I mean, this is an example. If people want to reach out to you and talk to you about working together to help them grow their income, increase their quality of life, lower their frustration and stress and all that, they're getting a taste right now of how you do that, just from hearing
and how I teach them to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it would be interesting. I just had a thought pop, and I think it would be interesting to possibly bring in an interviewee on one of these, like Betty Tufariello, and ask her how she's applied these things to her practice. She's an intellectual property attorney.
Yeah,
she's not an accountant. She's a totally different business.
Mm-hmm.
The same things that we're talking about, she's adopted and applied to her business to make it grow. So maybe we'll do an interview sometime.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Some case studies.
Looks like we're out of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've enjoyed this. I can tell you did also. So thanks again for the mini seminar here. And for anyone who is watching on replay, if you have any questions or comments, pop them right in here. Please like and share and sign up for the notifications so you know when we come on. It's every Thursday at 8:30 for a half hour. And it's worth your time. You know, any one of these sessions could put literally thousands of dollars in your pocket and improve your quality of life.
Absolutely. We're giving away gold.
I think so. Yeah. All right. Take care, Neil. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.